I don't know if it's just an election year or the whole world is like melting down, but there is so much going on in the news. And today I have with me Gateway Pundit founder Jim Hoff. Jim, thank you for coming on again.
Thank you, Stephen. Great to be with you.
So this Robert Hur story is just absolutely blowing up. I mean, there are so many gems coming out of this thing. It's like blowing my mind. But the first one that I wanted to get your feedback on is during the special counsel Robert Hur questioning, Democrat Representative Cori Bush talked about how Republicans are using Robert Hur to get Donald Trump, the white supremacist in chief, reelected. Why on earth would she need to call Donald Trump a white supremacist? Isn't this a professional hearing with like lawyers and state representatives, congressmen, congresswomen? Why the name calling?
Yeah, she should be censured for that, obviously. Um, it gets to a point where you have to put your foot down. Republicans, as far as I know, still control the House slightly, but that is absolutely uncalled for. And here is a woman who's under investigation. She's actually representative of St. Louis City, where I have a home, and she's just as radical, slid right in with the squad members, but she's been pretty toxic the whole time she's been there. She got her start, by the way. I don't know if you knew this. She got her start by being a Black Lives Matter activist before it was called Black Lives Matter, up in Ferguson, Missouri, which is right north of St. Louis, a suburb up there, which, by the way, was a pretty nice suburb. It was mixed. It was a lot of, a lot going on in that community, a lot of businesses. They made it sound like it was the inner city or deep hood territory. It wasn't. It was a very nice community. They burned it down twice, the business section, and that's how she got her start. And now she's a congresswoman. Pretty despicable.
Yeah, and like you say, she's under, I believe, ethics review for using her donors, her campaign money to hire her husband for like way overpaying him to be her bodyguard while at the same time calling to defund the police every opportunity she could when she got in front of a microphone. The hypocrisy is interesting. And then at the same time, it's like, why can't we heal the racial division in America? Why is America such a racist nation? And then she goes on live national television and calls Donald Trump a white supremacist. I mean, I agree. I think that she absolutely should be reviewed for these comments.
Absolutely, it's so disgusting, and you're absolutely right. Here she made a living, I guess, or a reputation for herself by attacking the police, by blaming the police for everything. St. Louis is as violent as it's ever been today, and it's always in these same communities that are hurt the most. The Black communities, they're the ones where we see the most crime, the most murders. Eventually, they're going to wake up to this. The Black community. I think a chunk of them will this year. That's my prediction, because they see what the people like Cori Bush has brought to their lives, and it's been nothing but disaster.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Barkley just last week on national TV said, I've been voting Democrat my whole life, and I've just starting to realize they've done nothing for our community. And so, like, yeah, a lot of people are waking up going, wait a minute. If things have been a struggle under the same leadership, maybe it's time for new leadership, right?
Really?
The other thing that I wanted to go over with you is you guys have extensively covered the January 6th situation. They've never connected Donald Trump, not the FBI, not the NSA, not the CIA, not the Capitol Police. Nobody's ever linked him to the violence or even the FBI, people that were in the crowd. Nobody has ever linked him to that. Yet, just this week, 57% of Democrats in polling said that if Donald Trump wins, that they want their Democrat leaders to block the electorates, not count the votes, and not peacefully transfer the presidency back to him. Isn't this the exact same thing that they were accusing him of?
Yeah, it sounds like an insurrection. That's where this is going. It's totally predictable. The left is always blaming Republicans for what they're actually doing. It's just disgusting. I think as we get further along and we start to put pieces together from January 6th. And I've spoken to at least 100 of the January 6ers, and we've raised money for them. We've raised over $3 million for a lot of these families, which we're very proud of. That's our readers who are donating to these families. The story's basically the same. They came there to protest. They came there to see Mike Pence stand up, be a man, and send some of these states back home to review some of the inconsistencies in the election. That's why they were there. I have yet to hear one person say that they were there to do violence. And yet here they are, so many of them sitting in jail with extended, sentences. And the people that when you look back, who enabled this, now we know. It was Nancy Pelosi. It was Muriel Bowser, the mayor of DC. It was the Capitol Police at that time. They're the ones who refused to have the National Guard come in. And that would have changed the whole situation. But they were the ones. And in fact, it was Pelosi then who hires a film crew to follow her around that day. So she was ready to roll, When are they going to ever question Nancy Pelosi? She's the one who has the blood on her hands, and of course we always hear about how horrible the police were treated, which is never a good thing. But, we've seen the video, and 4 Trump supporters are dead today. And then 2 or 3 more who died from suicide after they're continually harassed by their government. I put up a story last week, Stephen, a woman in Wichita, Kansas. Her husband was at the rally. He came home. He's a decorated Marine veteran, came back home, and a month after the protest, the FBI brings out all their war weaponry, surrounds their home. They live in a apartment complex. They drag them outside. This woman's barefoot. She's pregnant. I looked up the weather that day in Wichita. It was 12 degrees. They made her stand outside with her baby, who's in his pajamas, who's crying for his daddy. And she aborted her baby the next day. I should say aborted. She lost her baby the next day. And this is the type of treatment that Americans, heroes have been receiving under this Biden regime. It's lawlessness, complete lawlessness. And I hope enough Americans wake up to it.
Yeah, I do too. Well, that's why you and I are doing what we can every single day. You mentioned Nancy Pelosi having her own film crew. Then afterwards, she organizes this unselect committee with all of the most rabid Trump haters, including Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. And then she hires an ABC film producer to put on this show to the American people. Of course, it didn't sway anybody to their cause, but now we're finding out that Representative Liz Cheney and others purposefully withheld a testimonial from Deputy Chief of Staff Anthony Ornato, where he testified under oath that Donald Trump called for 10,000 armed National Guard people at the Capitol to keep peace. Why would he want 10,000 armed people to keep peace if he was going to charge in there with a group? It makes no sense. What do you think should happen to Liz Cheney for this kind of behavior?
Yeah, certainly there should be repercussions, and this is the problem with America that I've seen since Trump took office. We started to find out that there was people in the FBI, the CIA, in the State Department, lawmakers who made just disgusting lies about this man, who worked behind his back, who spied on him, including Barack Obama, we know now. And they're getting away with it. And what does that? What happens? When you see that type of behavior, it's just like raising a child, I suppose. You let them get away with stuff, then they just keep getting away with stuff. And so that's where we are as a country. And now we have this complete lawlessness. We heard that today, going back to Robert Hur's testimony. He's talking about all these things that Joe Biden did, that with these documents, this sounds like criminal action. But then they didn't indict Joe Biden. That was the first thing I looked at when his original report came out. There was going to be no charges against Joe Biden, no action taken. And yet Donald Trump, who's a president who has a right to take documents, who we don't even know which documents they're looking for. We suspect some of them are from the times that Obama was spying on him. We're thinking that there's a certain amount of people who believe that those are the documents they're after, and they're persecuting our President Trump because of that. It's absolutely disgusting, this double standard.
Yeah, it is. It is a double standard. Speaking of criminal activity, it also came out that both Biden and his ghostwriter, who he showed the documents to, read the documents to, they tried to destroy the documents. They tried to cover up the crime, and they tried to destroy the audio tapes of these top secret documents. He was literally giving away our secrets after stealing them as a senator and a vice president. And then he's saying, I don't know where they came from, but then he moved them multiple times. He used them for his autobiography. The mainstream media tells us they were in 2 locations. Now we find out they were in 7 locations. I mean, this story just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I can't believe that there's not going to be criminal charges.
Yeah, and what does that say to all the rest of these lawmakers out there? You know, that it's open season, especially if you have a D behind your name. And yeah, you know, it's infuriating to watch this happen day in and day out. I think, and I do think it's resonating. I think a lot of people see this. I think the Black community is waking up because they see how Donald Trump is treated, and they're like, yeah, my cousin might have been treated that way, you know, railroaded and sent to prison. And I certainly have had my eyes open, you know, watching and hearing from people in prison. I'm still hearing from guys today. You know, I have a couple of messages who are writing me about some of the situations they're in, and it's a horrible thing. It's just a horrible thing that's happened to our country. I did like seeing that Donald Trump said that he would release the January 6th prisoners when he comes back into office, and I hope and pray that happens, and I hope and pray that these guys get out of this really abusive, you know, the heavy hand of the government that has been put upon them since Joe Biden entered office.
Yeah. My favorite part of today's hearing was Representative Pramila Jayapal. She leans into the microphone to Robert Hur and says, "You exonerated Joe Biden." And he says, "I didn't exonerate him." And she says, "This is my time. This is my time. Don't say that."
Yeah.
I mean, like she's trying to, instead of asking a question, she's trying to put it into people's minds. You exonerated Biden. There's nothing to see here. You exonerated him. And he's like, "I did not. I did not." And then she's like, "No, these are not the droids you're looking for. This is my time. Don't." I mean, it was kind of funny to watch her get mad at her witness because he wasn't giving her the answers that she wanted to try to push forward this narrative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, it's interesting too, because actually he did exonerate Joe Biden. You know,
No
there's no repercussions for Joe Biden. There's no problem. He's all good to go, right? The only thing that he said about Joe Biden that upset the left was that he's a crazy old man who doesn't remember anything. Something we all know. Now we have it in paper. We have it in his testimony. He didn't know what year he went into office, or when Trump went into office. He didn't know anything, which is not a surprise. We see this every day. That upset the left. But you know, so Jayapal being mad at that, you know, she's a clumsy congresswoman. She's not, you know, exceptionally bright, I don't think, and maybe she could have worded it differently, and she would have got a different response. But actually, Robert Hur did exonerate Joe Biden, and that's infuriating, because we have Donald Trump where they raided his home, went through his wife's underwear drawer, went through his teenage son's room, right? Ransacked the place like they do whenever they make a raid. The FBI always ransacks your home, but Joe Biden gets nothing. He has open containers in his garage. He has closets at Penn University of Pennsylvania where his offices were, and 5 other places. And it's so incredibly, I mean, your jaw drops to see this lawlessness happening in America.
Yeah. I wonder if they were like, well, Bill Clinton's people were sneaking documents out in socks. Maybe it's in Melania's underwear drawer, right? Like, let's go through the first lady's underwear drawer. Are you kidding me? Like, so disrespectful. And they were cooperating. Oh, you say put on another lock, we'll put on another lock. Oh, you want more security, we'll put more security.
Yeah,
And the next thing you know, they're breaking in while he's out of town, and they're raiding the first lady's underwear drawer. I mean,
yeah,
this is crazy. Okay,
absolutely.
fine. Actually, I got two more questions for you.
Uh,
The first one is Representative Ken Buck of Colorado. He is abandoning the Republican Party. He is shrinking the margin. What is going on with this guy? Like, is he so bitter that there are America-loving Republicans that he's willing to, uh, give up even more of that slim majority? What is the thinking of this guy leaving?
Yeah, it's very disappointing to see this. I suspect there's a lot of people like Ken Buck out there in Congress. He's looking out for himself. He's looking out for his next gig, and it's disgusting. But that's human nature. We all have a choice. His choice is for himself, and he's counting on getting a nice gig at CNN or MSNBC, and I'm sure they'll hire him. And yeah, but a really disgusting person, man with no integrity. I mean, he doesn't have any principled stands that moves him away from Republicans. It's all just, you can tell it's all for his own personal gain. So pretty disgusting individual.
Yeah. Okay, final question. I appreciate you coming on. I know how busy the news cycle is right now. Tell us what's going on. You guys have a big court case. Remind me, what was that about, and where
Yeah.
do we stand with that for Gateway Pundit?
So next Monday, I'll be in the Supreme Court of the United States, and it's myself, three doctors who spoke out during COVID, three hero doctors, and one woman who runs a website in Louisiana, Jill Hines. And our case has made it now all the way to the Supreme Court. It started out in Missouri, and it was because what we found was that the government, it's not just big tech, which I knew was censoring Gateway Pundit for years. And you know that now from your experience with
Yes.
working with us,
Yes.
that the big tech censors us, and they have for years, but we still continue to grow, and that upset them. So then the government got involved, and it wasn't just big tech, it was a big tech and government. The government has set up several agencies just for censorship of Americans. And we discovered this. They kept it hidden. They were purposely hiding this from the American public because they know it's wrong, right? Anything that they're hiding like that. And we caught them. And so in July of 2022, I believe, it might have been 2023, time flies, but the judge in Louisiana, Judge Doty, said that the government can no longer do this. They have to quit censoring and shadow banning and working with groups like Google and Twitter and Facebook to shut down conversations, speech by Republicans. And so then Joe Biden the next day said, yes, we have the right to do that. We're going to continue to do that. So now we're at the Supreme Court. That's next Monday. And there'll be some arguments, and then we'll find out in a couple of months what the Supreme Court decides. But for your listeners and viewers, it's pretty ironclad in our Constitution that all Americans, have the right to free speech, and it should not be infringed upon by the government. So it's going to be interesting to sit in that room and listen to Joe Biden and Democrats argue about how they need to censor different individuals, including these brilliant doctors I'm with, including Gateway Pundit, including Jill Hines, that they have the right to do that because they don't agree with our opinions or our facts. So that's next Monday.
Yeah, good. Okay, that's awesome. I hope you guys win, because it's not just a win for you. It's a
Yeah.
win for journalism. It's a win for the American people, which is ultimately a win for the United States of America. So I champion you guys. Keep going. I know it's been stressful, cost a lot of money, but keep going. If people want to follow you, Jim, what's the best place? Should I just send them to gatewaypundit.com?
Yeah, it's thegatewaypundit.com. That's the best place. You can find us on social media outlets, but we're still censored quite a bit in different places. But they can always go to thegatewaypundit.com. We're still running. We're still gaining readers every day. Our numbers are really strong, so you can send them there. Thank you.
I will do that. All right, folks, if you like this kind of information, you want these top tier, incredible guests giving you insight, then make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and go follow Jim and his group. Thank you so much, Jim. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you, Stephen.